Welcome back to CT.JS. Today I'm going to talk about how to create text inside of CT.JS. It can be a little hard to understand if you're not familiar with the UI and how things work. So let's get started. Let's create a new project. You can see I'm in the nightly build of CT.JS. You can see here catnip is available for test and only in nightly builds. So you have to download this, and it's not super stable all the time, and there can be glitches and bugs. So it's not usually something you use for a big project, but for just testing it out and looking at this new catnip stuff, it's really cool, so it works fine. And yeah, you just got to download the latest nightly build if you want to check it out. So let's create a new world so we can just do some stuff. Need to create a new scene, a new room before you can actually add anything to it. Let's create something a little bright like this. That's great, I love it. So let's go ahead and look at some built-in assets just for some examples. Yeah, this is good. Let's grab some of these button states, and what we're going to do is to create a texture. Well, we just got a bunch of textures, but to create a game object, you can see currently you don't have anything we can add into our screen. You would right click normally and just create a new template from it, and then it creates like a duplicate, but this one says it's a template. And when we open this one up, it shows us the texture. Currently you got obviously the collision object, and you can set it to be round rectangle. You can change the rows, the columns. If this was a sprite with different images on it, you can set it as an animation, and the FPS will play down here. That's all how to do all that stuff. If you click on this one, then this shows up with our Visual Script and our Scratch like block coding. So we can do all this stuff and program whatever you want. Over here on the side we have the appearance and the behaviors. The behaviors is usually if you've got an external like script that you want to add in from a different project or from a different object in your project. That's pretty cool. And collision group down here. So that's the general stuff. You probably are already familiar with it. If not, then welcome. So that's how you do that, and then you can add it to your room. Let's go ahead, grab it down here. Perfect. But now what we want to do is explore different objects, because that's a simple template, but there's a lot more that you can do. For example, if you open this up, I opened the wrong one. Open up the texture. No, what am I doing? It was the right one. My brain wasn't functioning. If you open up the this one here with the template with the Visual Script workspace, the catnip, you can see we have this asset sprite. If we click the drop down, we can change what it is, the state. It can be a sprited counter, a repeating texture. We've got text, we've got button, we've got text input, we got container. Container is essentially like a collision object, I guess. It's just anything that doesn't have an actual texture to it, so it can be whatever you want, just like an empty object, like an empty. So let's go ahead, set this to be a button because it's an actual like button texture. And over here you can see, oh look at that, we've got brand new stuff over here. So let's set the texture of hover to be hover, texture when pressed to be click, texture when disabled to be locked, and the text style. So currently we don't need a text style because we already have text on our buttons, but if these buttons were just exteriors and there was no text on it, then you could add text to it and change the depth and whatever you want, and also the text style. Now text style, remember, over here is this little mouse icon here, and the text style is essentially what it sounds like. It allows you to modify the style of your text, so you can use custom fonts, you can change the color. Actually, let's set it to be a gradient because that's more interesting. And there you go. You can change a bunch of things, stuff. Let's change the background color to be something different so you can see the text a little better. If we set the background, the line weight, it just sets up the text to be something much more interesting. It's not anything too mind-blowing, but it is really simple to use. So we can set that as a new text, apply that. We've already added it to the world, so we can run this and you can see everything is working fine. We've got our button with a little text overlay with this custom font, and when we click it changes the texture, hover, normal, perfect. So what we can do now is talk about just a pure text object, because currently we don't have that. So let's go ahead, create a new template. And as you can see, we don't need a texture to create a template from it. We can just make a bland template as it is. So let's set this to be a score template, and over here you can see we can just set this to be a text object. And over here you can see we've got the default text. We can just set this to be 0 because we're going to make a counter to change it, because I'm not very original. So we're just going to change the counter when we click, like a clicker game, I guess. I've talked about that previously in a different tutorial like a year ago now, I think. So let's go ahead, create an event, a onCreation event, and we can go ahead to our assets, open up the room, and down here you can see we have the score object, and you can see it's got this little question mark. So what we can do is we can go ahead, select this. Wait, why is there a question mark? That's because I haven't applied it. That's important. If you just switch between tabs, it doesn't actually apply your changes. So you need to apply that and then go back to the room, and you can see now we have the applied effect when we click it with this extra tool. This is just a normal select tool that allows you to select things, change the position. This is a different select tool. It's the UI tool, so it gives you more interesting options like changing the text to be something completely different, which is very useful. And it also allows you to lock it to different parts of your screen. So if we lock it to the center, yeah, it's great. It's going to, even when you change the aspect on different devices, it will be locked to the center. So pretty cool. We also have like some other features that we can explore. For example, like the scale and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and just close that down and open up this score. And what we can do now is just add some simple code in order to create a score. So let's set its variable, its value, to be, let's create a new property to start off with, call it score, creating a new property called score, and this score is going to be set to a value of 0 as soon as the game starts, as in the onCreation event. This can also be triggered when you spawn a new object, but for us it's going to be as soon as the game starts, because that's when the object is created. And what it's going to do is it's going to increase every time we press on the screen. So let's go ahead to the actions, let's grab the new action, call it tap, set the events to be like W, up arrow, space, yeah, just grab those, and just like any pointer press, even that includes like mobile touches as well. So those are your usual sort of up arrow type keys. So let's go back to our score, grab an event, grab from the actions, grab the action press. So as soon as you press down, select the action we just created, the tap one, and this is going to be triggered every single time we click one of those keys I just added to that action. So what we're going to do is not set the score, but we're going to increase the variable, our variable being score. Now I created a property, but you don't actually need to. You can just type it in manually if you want. So let's create it, let's increase it by 1. If you want to increase it by more, then you can do that. So it will just go, for example, 10, 20, 30. But for me, I just want to do 1, 2, 3, just as standard score increase. So let's go and let's just add in a, where am I? Console, I think. Yeah, console. So we can actually see what's going on in our score. Let's go back to the top, the properties, grab the property. So it's going to increase it, and it's going to send it to the console so we can actually see what's going on behind the scenes. And here we go, we got our little button thingy, and when we click, nothing changes, but our console displays our changed variable. So what we want to do is want to set the text as well. You see, the onCreation, just creating the variable, that's got nothing to do with our text object. It's just a completely separate entity. It's a completely separate number. So let's go and grab a, well actually we can, if you hover around here somewhere, it should show up sometimes. There we go. If we click the plus, and we can grab the set text, or you can search for it here. Set text. There's a small delay currently. I think that might be fixed in the future versions. It might become more fluid. So let's set the text to be, well, our score property, which by default will be set to 0. And that is going to allow us to change the text to become 0. Currently it's not going to change anything because it's already 0 by default. But you can see it's still increasing, but it's not changing because, like I said, this is an event that happens every single time the object is created. If you spawn a new object, it's going to execute this code. and as soon as the object is created, as soon as the game starts, it's going to execute this code. But that's the only times it's going to execute that code. That's why we have all these different events. They are triggering different parts of code at different times, and that's very important. So the on frame start is going to trigger every single frame, and we're not actually needing that at all at this point. We only need these two: the on tap press, which happens every time you tap on the screen or you trigger one of those tap actions like the keyboard up or the W key or the space key. That's when it's going to execute this code. And this code currently isn't changing the text. We're only changing the variable and displaying that variable in the console. So we need to set the text here as well, and the text being score. And now we finally have a working clicker-ish type game. Very simplistic. That's how you change and create text inside of CT.JS. So very useful to understand where all these different features are hidden. This isn't by any means an advanced tutorial on how to make a specific clicker game. I mean, I've already done one using CT.JS like a year ago, I'm pretty sure. So you can go watch out if you want, but that's it from me. I hope you like it, and I hope you're excited about the future of CT.JS, especially with catnip visual scripting inside of this game engine, because it's really powerful. I really like it, and you can be sure it's going to become a lot more powerful, and a lot more people are going to start talking about this engine and using it, especially newbies, new persons, students especially, for programming, because this is very accessible. The biggest thing that was holding me back previously was syntax, and this completely bypasses syntax and it converts it all into JavaScript at the end of the day. So it's the same sort of structure of how you would code previously in C.JS, except in code in block format, which is great. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys